Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. This is United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. Hope you guys are having a good morning. Hope you guys had a good St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully, everyone stayed smart, stayed safe, but still, hopefully, everybody enjoyed themselves. St. Patrick's Day was always interesting to me. Obviously, so my family's Irish, big Irish. My grandmother and her twin are both from Ireland. Birthdays on St. Patrick's Day, coincidentally enough. But so big Irish family growing up. My name super Irish. The only way it could get more Irish if it was patio furniture, for instance. But yeah, it was just interesting. I think St. Patrick's Day is just in college. It was ridiculous. I mean, everyone just showed up to class just hammered, everybody just passed out. Like there were so many people just passed out all over campus when I was in college. It was a bit ridiculous, but I feel like the kind of people who use St. Patrick's Day as an excuse to just get annihilated drunk are also the kind of people who are going to do that on any other day. But I say all that to say, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're ever interested in learning more about who St. Patrick was and all that and how it went from that to what it is now, you guys can go ahead and Google that. But big up, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, as always. Danny B in the house. Good morning, my Irish brother. From another munner, speaking of St. Patrick's Day. Hope you had a good one, man. How's your back doing, brother? You back at work yet? Let me know how that's going. But good to see everybody. Got a lot of news to cover today. A little bit of transfer talk, a little bit of moment to laugh at City a little bit. And then, obviously, the big news that broke yesterday. The club made an official statement regarding season ticket prices. They released that yesterday. A lot of discourse on that, a lot of chatter, a lot of responses from fan support groups like Must and whatnot. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some Florian Plettenberg transfer talk, and then all that funness too. So we are going to dive into that. So let's start off with a fun stat, Sal, before we start getting into all the nitty gritty. I saw something, this is on Instagram. So I want to give this guy credit, or this girl, Red and Black United. Very, very fun, but a little bit of fun trivia. The last time United scored a hat trick in the Europa League, they won the competition with a Portuguese manager who took over for a Dutch manager who also won the FA Cup the previous year. So just saying, sounds like we're winning the Europa League. But in any case, that was funny, right? So we won the Europa League in 16-17 with Mourinho, fresh off the back of Louis van Gaal, a Dutch manager, winning the FA Cup the year prior. So just saying. Big up, Lionheart. Good to see you, man. Hope you are doing well, my friend. I need to start making sure I do all this as well, because I want to make sure that I always try to make a point to try to remember to do this kind of stuff, like add more moderators and whatnot, but I always forget because I'm very forgetful. It's nothing personal. It's difficult for me to manage so many things. Like even when instant messaging was thing, I just like one person that I'm talking to at a time, and then we'll move from there. I don't even have more than like 2 tabs open on my computer. I tease my wife because I look over her computer and she's got like 87 tabs, and that just like fries my brain just looking at that. But I did add you at a Lionhearts as a moderator, Lionhearts. So big up, man. Thanks for always just being a big part of the channel, jumping in the chat, getting involved. So I appreciate that, man. I would love to keep us going. Danny says, be back work next week, please. God, awesome, man. Well, more importantly, though, how's your back feeling? The work thing is secondary. How's your back feeling, my guy? Because that's important. So much of every part of you is connected to that back. And so, like, nerves go from everywhere and anywhere. So hopefully the back is doing well, man. That's what I'm concerned about. But I'm glad that you're happy to be getting back to work, man. So yeah, no, big up, man. Big up, Lionhearts. Thank you to you guys, man. Cheers to everyone like you, Danny, everybody getting involved. If Rob shows up, we'll throw him on there. If Bach shows up, we'll throw everybody on there, man. I just love seeing the community grow. Love getting you guys involved any way I can. So, but anyway, yes. So fun bit of trivia. Won the Europa League with a Portuguese manager after a Dutch manager won the FA Cup. So we're probably going to win the Europa League by that, by those rules. So anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's check out the membership bonuses. Sorry, it's been a busy morning already. If you guys ever want to get a little bit more involved, you guys can look at memberships, and then hit the bell and make sure you don't miss out on any of the content. Danny says it's good as it gets. Cheers on. Yeah, well, Good to hear it, man. Glad it's better. Better is always good. You celebrate, right? Every little step forward, whether it's a tiptoe or a huge leap, you just celebrate it and just be thankful for it. So let's get stuck into the video. Oh, how'd that get in there? Oops. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Or did I? Sorry, everyone. Still in laugh at Liverpool mode if you cannot tell. But anyway, do you guys want to see it again? Should I put it up there again? Do you guys want to laugh with me? Prick. Anyway, let's let's move on. We'll talk first about the ticket prices because why not? Glad you guys like it. I'm a little bit of a savage sometimes, and I don't even feel bad about it. To be honest, I really don't. I'm unapologetically tribal when it comes to Liverpool. So it is what it is. So let's talk about Terry Reinhardt says I love it. Yeah. First and foremost, ticket prices, right? So obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe did a sit down with Gary Neville, with the BBC, with a couple of outlets last week. We talked about that at least last week. Did that big long video, but in that video, if you recall, he did kind of show that he and his team, Ineos, Barada, all these guys, they were going to be discussing ticket prices. Gary Neville asked him about ticket pricing. He said, "There's something we are going to be discussing. We'll make a decision here in the next few weeks." So they did make a decision, and yesterday in an official statement from the club, they revealed that while season ticket prices for under 16s have been frozen, some season ticket prices and stuff have been raised by about 5%, which equals to about £2.50 per match, I believe, when you look at it. So you guys decide how you feel about that. Let's go take a look at the actual club statement here together so we can kind of roll through this. So club statement, they confirmed the season ticket prices for the 25-26 campaign next season. Price fees for under 16. So they're still making it, they're trying to make sure that the kids can still show up to the matches at least. All their season tickets will increase by around 5%, which is an average of about £2.50 per game, like I said. So the under 16 price reflects the club's commitment to preserving access to Old Trafford for our next generation, and that was after a consultation with FAB, the Fans Advisory Board, who they've been trying to meet with. Now, obviously, not everything that or the Fans Advisory Board, not everything that they want is going to happen, and that's just part of life. Now, I wish, all things being equal, that it could happen. I wish that we could do all sorts of stuff. It sounds like they're trying. I mean, I'm going to be very critical of this because you guys know that I've always said you need to find something else other than increasing ticket prices. But let's see what they say. So the increase for other categories aims to strike a balance between keeping tickets affordable for fans and keeping the club financially sustainable. So we've heard that several times over the year. And this is the thing that people remember too. Ineos, this is the same thing that the club has done for the last couple of years now. Before they arrived, the club has continued to raise ticket prices. So Omar Barada, so you saw on the thumbnail, he's the one who's kind of coming out and taking charge of this. He's our CEO, and he says, "We appreciate the loyal and patient support of our fans, particularly our season ticket holders, who represent the core of our match-going support. We understand the importance of their backing and have worked hard to come up with a pricing package that is fair and reasonable." After 11 years of price freezes, we increased prices by 5% for the past 2 seasons, and we'll do the same next season to offset continued rises in operating costs. He tried to defend it by saying prices remain significantly lower than a decade ago when adjusted for inflation and at similar levels to peer clubs in the northwest of England. So again, one of those kind of like hearkening back to the comments Sir Jim made about Fulham prices. United, he claimed that United should be charging more than Fulham, but very different area of England. Obviously, Fulham, London club, very much more affluent than. I'm not trying to say Manchester is a shithole. It's not a shithole. It's a working class area. The club was founded by working class people. It's got a history and a foundation of working class mentality, everything. And so I understand where they're coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it, and that's fine. I don't have to agree with it, but and so it's interesting. So he says he understands that any price rise is unwelcome, especially during a period of underperformance on the pitch. And we listen carefully to the strong arguments put forward by the FAB in favor of a freeze. However, the club has decided it would not be right to keep prices unchanged while costs rise and the club continues to face financial issues. We have kept the increase to the lowest possible level, protected our youngest season ticket holders from any rises while ensuring the club remains financially strong enough to invest in improving the team. I call bullshit. You guys know that I'm not a fan of raising ticket prices. I give the analogy all the time. Like if I buy a restaurant in an old building and doing my due diligence, seeing, hey, the electricity's got to get upgraded, the roof's got to get redone, whatever. I don't get to all of a sudden double the price of a Caesar salad just because I've got costs. I knew what I was getting into going into it. If I'm in it for the long haul, then I've got to find other ways to increase costs. That could mean cutting back, maybe trimming the menu, maybe taking a look at the workforce and seeing if there's people that, if I have too much staff, whatever that is, finding a way to streamline that. But I don't get to turn around and start charging the customers $20 for a Caesar salad that used to be $10. That's just a very lazy kind of deflectory, kicking the can down the road way of doing this. And I'm not a fan of it. Now, we saw the Glazers kind of do this. Obviously, we did have season ticket price freezes for a while. They've recently started to increase the money because the kicking the can down the road is catching up. In the last couple of years, we've had to increase things. Obviously, COVID plays a role in that as well. And that's unprecedented. You can't really plan for anything like COVID, but I don't like this at all. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Let me jump out of this for a hot second. No one has any comments. Cool. No worries. Get your thoughts in as we cruise along here. So, get out of here. Our overall strategy, says Barada, is to price tickets at levels that keep every seat filled for every game, maximizing support for the team and providing a variety of options for different fans, including concessions for our young and elderly supporters. So that's what Barada had to say. You guys have any thoughts before I jump into the bullet points here? No, good. You guys fuming? Do you not care? Can you not be bothered? Let me know. After I can appreciate that they've again frozen prices for kids and they've raised them to a minimum level that they could have raised them more, but they did it to the actual minimum. But this is not going to go over well with fans. I'm not a big fan of it. And then there's the whole, let's look at these bullet points here. So in addition to the price ticket, the 5% increase, so now they've started doing a game categorization for match by match tickets. So this doesn't apply to season tickets, but for match by matches. So basically, they're going to be categorizing these games probably based on the opponent and the popularity of tickets, which may sound bad to some, but honestly, other clubs do this all the time. When Justin and I went to Salford, for instance, they do it. They have, the hospitality tickets for Salford were a different price depending on the opponent and the popularity of the match. So there was category A, B, C, or whatever. Same with the under 18s match. If I remember correctly, the hospitality tickets for that are different price depending on the level of opponent. So if we were playing like someone else, like Chelsea or Liverpool or something, that would have been a little bit more. That's how a lot of clubs do it for the individual match tickets. That's how a lot of clubs will do that kind of thing. Lionheart says, I know it's not a popular option, but things get dearer. Yeah, it's gonna turn away some fans. It really is. Honestly, I've seen some United fans online say yeah, my ticket only can increase by a couple bucks. I'm not really bothered by it. Some people, just the principle alone of the fans kind of incurring some of the responsibility for the increased costs and the decreased revenue. A big part of the decrease in revenue is the team's performance. If you're not able to progress in Champions League or whatnot, why should fans have to then pay more because the players who are making a ton of money can't perform on a given day and help the club, be more successful on the pitch? Danny says, should have waited till next season. Yeah, to announce it, you mean? Probably. They probably should have waited to announcement. I think maybe this is, Danny, where, some of that PR comes in off the back of a big win going into an international break. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but you're right. Maybe they could have waited. They pulled a Jurgen Klopp announcing, leaving Liverpool mid-season. Leonard says, don't get me started on the price of cabbages. Then he says, price of everything went up. Inflation been high past year or more. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just, I get that some of the costs are going to increase, whether it's maybe utilities, supplies, regular just maintenance stuff, everything that goes into maintaining the pitch, hiring that falconer, and maybe the falconer's got bills to pay and he raised the price. I don't know, but I get it. I get that inflation does it. Again, at the end of the day, again, if you go to a restaurant one week and you pay $10 for a salad, and then you go a month later and you're paying $20 for a salad, and the owner's like, well, I had to get a new roof. I mean, it doesn't sit right with me. That'd probably be the last time I ever go to that restaurant. Then he says, fans on stream last night said tickets gone up more than they stated. I've seen some people claim that like their like dad's like season ticket like more than doubled in price, which I don't know how that's possible. Now I know that the cutoff point now is instead of 65, I think they raised it by a year to 66. So if there are 65-year-olds out there, the discount for the senior season tickets might not apply. I think that was something that they changed. But yeah, I don't know. You're going to see a lot of stuff coming out right now. Again, I can't tell you what's legit and what's not. I can only tell you what I see and what I hear because I'm not obviously a member of the United. I'm not a season ticket holder because I don't live in Manchester. So I couldn't tell you. So we'll see more coming out. We'll have to sift through the bullshit and see what sticks. Leonard says, inflation, shrinkflation. I mean, have you seen the size of Snickers bars lately? Yeah. Honestly, I don't eat candy, so I don't know. I don't remember how big a Snickers bar is. It used to be what, like this big? Is it like smaller now? You sure you just didn't buy like the bite-sized one by accident? Danny says, thank Joe Biden and the Ukraine war. Well, again, politics is something that I give a wide berth because it's not because like, here's the thing when it comes to stuff like politics, especially, I stay away from it because I don't know much about it. And I am the kind of person like football. Like there's a reason I say context is key. Like I don't just read one source on something and then say, okay, that's it. That's facts. I cross check, I cross reference, I vet, I look at all different avenues and all different perspectives and angles and sources to try to figure out, context for stuff. For me to then, if I'm already doing that with football and whatnot, for me to go ahead and start doing that with politics, because again, politics is even worse. That would take so much of my day. It really would. I can't just be like, well, I read this on Bloomberg, so that must be true. I can't. I just can't do that. I wouldn't. It wouldn't sit right with me. So the time that it takes to do all that it kills me, man. Danny says, cut the seniors from 50 to 25%. I heard, yeah, and that's what we're going through here right now. On these bullet points. Let me see what we got here. So the categorization. So obviously, some individual match tickets are going to cost more. Some are going to cost less, depending on the opponents. If you want to match against like Ipswich Town in the league, it's going to cost significantly less on that individual match than you like a Liverpool or a Manchester Derby or something. It's just the way it's going to be. And like I said, other clubs do that all the time. Salford, when we did that. The under 18s do that. That's not unheard of for one-off match tickets. That's the norm. It's not the norm for us, kind of like the free meals, but it is the norm. According to the club, too, the late listing of tickets for resale greatly impacts the ability for our members to purchase tickets for the game. So starting next season, they're not going to be letting you do that without some sort of cost incurred. So if you choose to sell your ticket back to the club within 2 weeks of a game, there will be a fee of $10 deducted from the refund. So there's no fee for reselling prior to 14 days, and the forwarding and donating to the MU Foundation options will remain unchanged. So again, like they're not, it's just the $10 charge is deducted from the refund that United will pay you if the ticket does sell. You're not charged that up front or anything. So they'll just say, hey, when it resells, you $10 off if you wait till a couple weeks. I mean, I understand it. It's just, again, I don't know what that, I don't know what the point of that was. Like $10 here and there is not going to make too big of a difference. Maybe it's just it is hard for someone like me, this is why I don't try to get my tickets through the club, because you oftentimes you're in a lottery base, so you're in a pool. You oftentimes won't know what match you get ticket for until very, very shortly before you. And like, that's just too, like me coming from the States, it's just too short notice. I'll go online once I figure out the schedule for European matches. Usually I try to go in the fall so you're guaranteed some group stage in Europe as well as Premier League. I'll find a back-to-back home in the league and in Europe, and then that's it. And that's when I'll go. It's just easier. And I'll plan that out several months in advance, usually like 3 months in advance if possible, just to do with the lodging and the travel and all that stuff. Like you just have to, and then flights too, because those fluctuate so frequently. And in fact, with the season ticket prices, I mean, I've seen some people online admit, like season ticket holders say, like this is actually it's a lower increase than I thought we were going to get. So some people are not that fussed about it. So again, like I said, the minimum usage of season tickets, they're increasing that to by one game. So you have to go to a minimum amount of games, and so they're increasing that to 16 now minimum. So they want you to go, I guess. The age, again, getting to the senior discounts, the 25% off is applied when now track the state pension age, currently 66. I think it was 65. So that's 25% discount. So like Danny said, removing the inconsistency with some who previously received. So I guess not everybody, according to the club anyway, received 50% discount. Again, I'm not senior, so I don't know. Big up, Darko. Good to see you, my friend, as always. Let me do one of these numbers since you're here. While I'm thinking about it, man, there you go. We'll do that. We'll get Darko in on it too. I'm just in Oprah mood today. Everybody's getting a mod status. So again, increasing the minimum age for seniors from to the state pension age. Again, I'm not from the UK, so I don't know what that is over there, but apparently 66 is. And then not everybody over 66 was getting the 50%. It was inconsistent, so they're now doing it at a flat rate. And then the biggest thing too that I saw that I wasn't a big fan of too was, so some of the tickets directly behind the dugouts, which are obviously very highly coveted seat locations, those are going to be converted to hospitality seats now. So again, reflecting the high value of this location. So some of the current season ticket holders who have those seats will be relocated, and they will be contacting them on an individual basis to find a suitable alternative seat for them. I'd be a little bothered by that because I'm a little spoiled though, and I want to sit right there. Those tickets are expensive though. Like I'm talking like $300 if you try to get them. So Barada concludes, while they did not agree with all the decisions, we'd thank Fab constructive advice throughout the process. So I mean, basically, that's what you're getting. What just happened here? Sorry, forgot that I took that off the screen. So Danny says that's not good. Yeah, the whole dugout seating thing is a little. I'm not a big fan of that either. Again, a lot of this is not going to go well. I mean, that part is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. Increasing the minimum number of games by one is not going to go over well. But I suspect, like I said, a couple people have already said, like, it's a couple pounds is not that big a deal. It's less than what they thought. So I suspect that while a lot of people are probably going to moan and rage about it, most of those people will still re-up. And, even when the prices went up the last couple of years, you still have season tickets getting sold out. So I don't think that, yes, people will complain, but these same people will still re-up the season tickets. Just like there's people who criticize and they'll still show up at the mega store and spend $150, $300 in merch on match day. I'm not judging. I'm just saying the same people who are out here protesting are the same people wearing like a home strip that they just got at the mega store. So I'm like, it sends a mixed message. So again, I'm not trying to like be elitist and things as your judge. I'm not doing that. I'm pointing out the inconsistency sometimes between what people like to say on social media or at a protest with a mask over their face versus what they're actually doing with their money. So it is what it is. Liner says that's a bit cheeky. Yeah, I would not be happy if I'm a season ticket holder for however many years and I've got a nice seat behind the dugout and then the club was like, yeah, F off, you got to go sit someplace else. I'd be like, what? That's not cool. I'd be pissed. I really would. I try to get really decent seats when I go. Like the seats we got last time for the Brighton match. Well, the match itself was shit. The seats were on point, but I like to be able to see the match, and so that's a bit rough. Darko, yeah, thanks, man. No, I thank you, Darko. I mean, appreciate you always jumping in, getting involved, dude. Please smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. Yes, do as Darko says. He is He is wise, or she. I don't even know if anyone's guys, girls on here. So, but big up everybody. So that's basically the bullet points. So we've got a 5% increase in season ticket prices, which equals about £2.50 per match, excluding seniors and under 16s. Now the seniors, they've raised the age to 66, and now they've lowered and what the club says is an inconsistent 50% discount, which I guess wasn't always the case, down to a flat 25% discount. So I can complain about that in about 26 years. But and then we've got the what else was going on here? What else did they say? You guys remind me. So we've got they were taking some the seats from behind the dugout. They're converting those to hospitality, and they're moving some of those season ticket holders as well. Interesting stuff. So clubs taking some steps to try to get a handle on things. After a decade or so or more of freezing season ticket prices, the last 2 years they've raised season ticket prices as well. This would be the third year in a row that they're going to be doing this. So it's not anything that's new. It doesn't mean that it's something that I think is right in all counts. Again, it's one of those situations like the free meals. I get it. I understand it. And compared to other clubs, I get it, but I don't like it. So it's hard, right? Just because I don't like something doesn't mean that should be the way it is. But you guys get your thoughts in on some of that. Darko says, I'm 5 years older, man, than you, Sean, but I assume half the size of your height. I mean, I'm about 6'1", 6'2". I don't know, depending on what kind of shoes I'm wearing on a given day, or if I'm wearing my boots, they add like an inch. But yeah, I feel older some days. I feel younger some days. It's been a while though. Like I was just saying over the weekend, hanging out with some people watching the game. Like I'm at that age where I make noises when I stand up now. I'm at the age where I don't want to mow the lawn, but when I can't because it's raining, then I get frustrated. I'm at that age. I'm at the age where I know if I have a really good night's sleep, my neck will be killing me the next day. Whatever age that is in, wherever I fall on that scale, like that's my sweet spot right in there. So that's how old I am. So in response to this, Must has already kind of let its feelings known. And of course, they're not happy. I don't know if Must is ever happy. They're like the group embodiment of Roy Keane, basically. But they are never, ever, ever happy. So Must had a statement, though, and they've said, for several months, we have argued long and hard that the club need to look at the big picture and freeze season ticket prices for next season. So they obviously Must doesn't want season ticket prices. The season ticket prices have increased the last couple of years, though. Now, some clubs do, like Must says. Other clubs have done that already. And at United, it would have sent a powerful message about the need for everyone to pull together to get the club out of a very difficult position. Must does admit, though, that the scale of the increase is less than many thought and what they believed that was going to happen. So it does seem like they're admitting and recognizing that amidst the input and the feedback, and yes, some of the outside pressure and criticism, United did not increase the season ticket price as much as some people thought. So big up to Must for admitting that. But they do say, however, the new categorization model for non-season ticket holders for matches is a source of concern, with fans facing additional pricing increases for higher demand games. That was always going to happen, though. I mean, in order to get a match ticket, you gotta, either be a season ticket holder, or you've got to be a member, or you've got to go through a ticket touting scheme or something like I do online. And those games are going to be more expensive that way anyway. Now, occasionally, if you're affiliated with some sort of group or member and you're in Manchester, you could hit up the liaison and maybe get a face value ticket for a one-off match. I've never done that though because I'm not a member. So, but I have been told that you can do that as well. Leonard says, I realized I was getting older when I checked myself getting excited for a cup of tea on a Saturday morning. Honestly, though, man, it is the little things sometimes like that. Like one of the best parts of my day is just the quiet time in the morning. I can smell the coffee brewing. I sit down, get my first cup of coffee, and start reading through some of the United news. I mean, those little things, they do kind of set a trajectory for the rest of your day sometimes. I do think that is true. Get a little prayer, get a little time for peace and quiet, get a little just And then my wife wakes up and all hell. No, I'm just kidding. I love my wife, but yeah, she definitely brings it crazy when she gets in the morning. Mostly because the dogs are just excited to see her, so everyone wants to play and stuff. Um, but I'm usually up at like 5. The dogs are usually fed and out, and the coffee's brewing by like 5:30, and then by 6, I'm chilling. I've gotten most of my stuff done. I like being done with a lot of stuff before other people kind of start doing stuff. Like, but I usually try to be done with working out, coffee, all that stuff by like 10 a.m. And then I'll usually do a stream if I have time for that. Darko says, I'm more worried about my health than Man United at this stage, but Man United keeps me involved with all you wonderful people. Well, big up, Darko. It does keep us involved. It is a bit health hazardous at times. I've got to check my heart rate. I might have to see if my insurance will cover my Peacock subscription because it's killing my heart. Just having to switch to some whole grains, healthy grain diet, healthy little Cheerios, little steel cut oatmeal. But it is hard. I mean, times like this, we need each other, right? It doesn't. We just need to carry that load together. So the more of us can help kind of share that stress, the better. But big up, Darko. Um, Must on the categorization, Must says they call for a strict cap on the number of games that will be placed in the higher price categories. Well, I mean, those games are obviously going to be other games against your top 6 rivals, your Chelseas, your Cities, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your Spurs, probably nowadays maybe your Newcastle, your Forest as well. Those games are always going to be highly coveted. Those games are always going to be the games that you're not going to get a whole lot of vacant tickets anyway. Just is what it is. Especially like City or some places that are close. Just the way it's going to work. Must says we also need to work to understand the detailed impacts of the seat moves and the terms of conditions changes being made. In particular, we fail to see any justification for the increase in season ticket holder minimum usage requirements. So Must is not happy with some of the changes, specifically the minimum uses. I get it. Not everybody can go. I mean, and maybe this just me. I get life happens. I wouldn't buy a season ticket if I lived in Manchester if I wasn't planning to go to every match. And so I get that sometimes life happens, but it's like I told Justin with this whole indoor co-ed thing. Like I can be a sub, no problem, but you know that if I'm paying the 100 whatever dollars to be a part of that core team, I look at that as an investment. And as far as ROI is concerned, I'm going to be there every single week. You don't have to. I'll rearrange other stuff to do that because I've committed to it, not only to you guys but financially as well. If I commit to a season ticket at United, if I live in Manchester, I'm going to that because I need to get a return on my investment. That's just the way it is. So, but I do sympathize that sometimes life happens and you just can't. So Darko says, Sean, there are charity streams going on for Patrick, a YouTuber fighting. Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't. Who's Patrick? Cancer's That's never fun. It's one of my biggest worries in life is terminal illness like cancer. Even the word just kind of makes me feel a little anxious. But big up Patrick, man. I hope everything goes well with that. And it's never fun. I don't like giving people false hope, but what helps me is I constantly have to remind myself that like technology, science, medicine is so much more like advanced now than it was even 5, 10 years ago. Like I think one of the biggest turning points for me for that, and again, this isn't trying to be false hope. This is just what's helping me. So like 3, 4 years ago, I was sitting with somebody, and he was telling me like about 10 years ago, he was diagnosed with like stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he was at a point where his doctor was like, you need to get your affairs in order. And this was a young guy. He was probably in his like mid-20s at the time. And so he was telling me this and I was like, I can't even imagine. But he was like, it was, I got on this trial for this new drug, and within weeks, like I was already better. Like the guy's cancer free now. And that was probably like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that this happened. So it's not, I guess it's not a death sentence. Now I have no idea what's going on with Patrick Darkrow, but hopefully, things are going up. We'll keep him in our thoughts and prayers, of course. But yeah, I will go search for that when I'm done here and see what's going on there. But so what are you guys' thoughts on some of the season? I know I've been reading a lot of it and we've been following along on the website and whatnot. We're looking at Must, but what are you guys' thoughts on some of the season tickets? Like I said, some people are not happy about it. Some people, like me, it doesn't really affect me that much. I've seen some people, season ticket holders, long time season ticket holders online, say they're not fussed because it's only a couple pounds. I've seen some, like even Must admit it gets a lot lower than we thought it was going to be. You got to remember the first time they raised ticket prices a couple years ago, they increased it by like 20 pounds. And that had nothing to do with Ineos. This was much lower. I mean, 5%, £2.50 per game is nothing. So some people won't care. Some people will be upset. I think it's like anything, like you guys are talking about, inflation, cost of materials, just serve all that stuff. Like anything is going to happen. Restaurants, food costs, eventually they do increase. Movie ticket. I remember when I was young, going to a movie is nothing. Now it's like you have to take out a second mortgage if you want to go take your family to see a movie and get everybody some popcorn or something. I mean, it's insane. And this is how life is. I mean, and this is like me living in like Michigan. I can't imagine what it's like if you go to a state where cost of living is ridiculous, like California, like New York or something. Like I've seen some apartments in New York that are literally this no bigger than this room I'm in now, which is maybe like 10 by 12 or something, that'll cost like $2,000 a month. Like that's insane. But you know, again, it will filter out some people. I think but some people it won't. This is just life sometimes. So, Danny, yeah, throwing out some thoughts for Patrick there. Big up yourself, Danny. Leonard says the more the season goes on, the more exciting it seems to be getting. Is that a sarcasm inciting? Is it just fun? I think in terms of performances and stuff, yes, we're seeing a little bit of a turnaround in these last few weeks. We're on a good unbeaten run. Obviously, we went into the break on a really good positive note. Now we're going to get a little bit of a reality check perhaps when we come back from the break, and we'll preview that one in a couple weeks when we face Forest. But it's looking good. We're seeing the system start to click. We're seeing players get back into form. We're seeing a lot of unity, a lot of positive shift in mentality and whatnot. Not only just in eye test, what you see, but also just in the numbers. The numbers do reflect a little bit of that mentality as well with the duels and whatnot. So, but I agree. Whether it's sarcastic or not, I agree. Danny says, I think so too, Liner. Slowly growing. Danny says, I think we beat Forest injury depending. Well, that's big talk, man. We did not look great against Forest. Obviously, we let in some really stupid goals. That one, who was that? Morgan Gibbs White, that one that squeaked under Onana. I think that was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. And I'll share more thoughts on stuff like that in a future stream, maybe this week sometime. But yeah, that was Forest are really on the ascendancy, which again, Forest are doing to me like what Newcastle did, not this year, but like a couple years ago when on paper, you compared like Newcastle squad a couple years ago to everyone, and you're like, how are they doing this? How are they qualifying for Champions League football? But they just did it somehow. Same with Forest right now. You look at that squad, and like on paper, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to diss their squad, but like you compare Forest to like on paper to the squads of some of the other top six, the big six rivals, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. How are you doing this? But they're just doing it. I don't know how. I wish I had an answer. Lionheart says it was both optimistic and sarcastic. Hey, you know what? It works. I mean, I love the optimism. It's hard for me to get too optimistic about some things because history just tells me that, inexperience tells me that it's just not going to go that way. But anything can happen on a given day in the Premier League. So get your thoughts in on the season ticket prices as we move along. We're going to jump into some transfer news here. Second, Dana says, spine is important. Mario Milenkovic been class. Yeah, I do love Mario. Very, very good. It's going to be hard to get him out of there if they get into Europe, though. I'm really gutted that Sangare is not having as much of an impact. He was one that I really liked when he was at Eindhoven. Injuries obviously not helping, but I thought he was such a powerhouse of a defensive midfielder. And then obviously anytime Anthony Elanga does something, the critics will come out and give us some stick for it, but that's to be expected. Let's go on to some transfer news. So if you saw in the thumbnail, a little bit of news in the striker front coming from Florian Plettenberg, Sky Sports Germany. So apparently United are looking to strengthen our attack in the summer and are intensively scouting the market. Talks have already begun. Now, we spoke the other day that striker is one of those reported 4 positions that Fabrizio Romano claims that United are looking at, along with an attacking midfielder and a center back and a midfielder. I think we probably need a right wing back as well. We need some help. And you could argue that we need a goalkeeper, but Plettenberg says from the Bundesliga, United are closely monitoring Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Sesko, the Slovenian striker. And then he also threw out again Victor Gyökeres and Victor Osimhen as still remaining high on our list of targets. So 4 strikers that have been name dropped yesterday in relation to United. Several of whom all of these actually we've been linked. We've been linked to Shesko. We've been obviously heavily linked to Gyökeres. Osimhen's popping up heavily over January window. And yes, we actually were linked with Hugo Ekitike a long time ago. I think when he was still at Rams. This was like 4 years ago. And then I think he went to PSG. And it just didn't quite work out. This is when he was like a teenager. Shesko will be expensive. I do like Shesko a lot, but he's going to be expensive. He just joined them not that long ago, and his wages are already over 100K a week, so it's going to be hard to get Benjamin Sesko out of there. Honestly, for me, the striker I'm going with is not on this list at all, and that's, to me, it's got to be Jonathan David personally. But Danny on Sengar, yeah, me too. Surprised how bad he turned out. I just feel like I haven't seen him play a lot. Like, I don't know if he's just not favored or if he's just injured. I feel like he was injured for a minute though. Danny says, "Don't have patience for transfer window this summer. It is a bit of a roller coaster ride, isn't it?" Danny says, "The more I watch Yashari, I don't want anyone else, dude." Right? He is like, if you put Bruno back in the 10, for instance, Yashari would be just so ideal in that deep role. And you saying that now has got me questioning one of my picks for a video that I've got planned later on this week now, because I went like back and forth between like 2 or 3 players for that midfield role, and he was up there. It's difficult. There's so many good midfielders out there. It's difficult. Like, what do you prioritize? Like English, like football experience, age and experience on like top Champions League level, price. It's so hard. Lionheart says nearly everyone will be rebuilding next year. It's going to be a hectic transfer window in the summer. Well, I mean, on that note though, Danny and Lionheart. So Danny put out a comment the other day. If I had 200 million to spend this summer, what would I do? That's going to be a video we're going to do later on this week. I've put together my picks, and I might end up changing. I go back and forth on that midfield position so much right now. I've changed it probably 2 or 3 times already. That is a position that I'm looking at. So keep a lookout for that one, because I do have my picks, and I'm going to be honest, I don't need 200 million to start a rebuild. I can get, considering the money we're going to get from players and money we're going to free up, I'll be making this club money if I was director of football. Let me tell you that right now. Danny says, David for free if we can't get Gyökeres, spread the money on other areas. Yeah, David for me, it's just because he's been doing it for longer consistently. He's a little bit younger, and being free is definitely a big bonus. You could do so much more in a transfer window with just a player who's on a free agent. Obviously, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a signing bonus. But it's got to be Jonathan David for me personally. But who would you guys pick out of those? Jonathan David, Benjamin Sesko, Ekitike is kind of a random one. Gyökeres or Osimhen. We've done that a couple times, but Danny says, honestly, take him over anyone in mid. Yeah, Arden Yashari, if you guys aren't watching Belgian League football, go watch some Club Brugge. He destroyed Ederson in the Champions League a couple weeks back. Literally one of the best players on the pitch. Had a goal and assist on the weekend. He's such a good player. Such a good player. He's just class. Like, watching him, he is class. Like, if you remember like prime Frankie de Jong, or like watching like João Neves, like that's who this kid reminds me of. The way he dribbles, he reminds me a little bit like a Hazard in that regard too, but he's so good. Lionheart is already stress eating. Nice. I did that yesterday. I don't know why I was stressed about, but I got like a thing of guacamole and a bag of Takis. You guys ever have Takis chips? I got Sweet Dragon chili. I just went to town on that guacamole. It was so good. I ate the whole bag in one sitting. I'm not proud of it. At all, but I just destroyed it. Darko says, our outgoings will take the limelight from the incomings. Yeah, freeing up the wages, getting some money is going to help PSR. Like, you guys see my list and you see how much money I would actually spend versus how much we could bring in, like I'll be making money, man. I would be such a good director of football at this club. Lana says, is it correct that United intend to cut some of the scouting network? They've already done that, I believe. But again, if this were like 20, 30 years ago, maybe like when Fergie first got here, and remember Fergie, we didn't have many scouts when Fergie arrived. He added dozens of scouts. But in the last several years, the data analysis, the analytical side has almost made the need for, sending people to matches early in the morning, whatever, almost made that unnecessary. Now you can do a lot just looking at numbers, watching, YouTube compilations, not even, but just you can watch. You have a library of matches at your disposal now. You don't need, if you have one or two people who just know what they're doing, whose job is just to analyze matches or look at numbers, you don't need a huge scouting network. Now it helps, especially at the youth level, because your numbers and whatnot are not readily available. So that's going to be necessary. You get the guys out there in the flat cap early in the morning with the notepad to watch, 12, 13-year-olds go for it. But I don't think it's as necessary anymore. And I think that's going to be the name of the game. Is the position necessary at this day and age or not? Did we need 175,000 a year body language expert at the club? Probably not. We don't need that. Then it says Juan Jimenez, 10 million, Jonathan Tah for free, covers center back position. Well, you will see what my picks are. Danny says Tah's contract is up soon, right? It is up in the summer, I believe. I thought he was heavily linked to Bayern, obviously, but yeah, you'll see mine. So it won't be tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be, Dylan's going to be joining me. We're going to be here tomorrow evening to talk about all of our managers since Ferguson retired. And Dylan and I have each ranked those from, our, what we think is the best to the worst, 5 managers. And so we're going to go through this. So guys, you saw the post. I did a post yesterday. So get involved in the post, because I want to know what you guys think too on that as we get into that. But be sure to come back tomorrow. And then later on in the week, we will be doing another stream where I get 200 million to spend in the summer, and I'll show you what I would do with it. Lionheart says, to be fair, if they had any smarts, they would tune in and listen to you and Danny P. I mean, I'm not. You said it, not me. You said it, not me, Lionhearts. But that's why you're my mod, man. So, it just boggles my mind sometimes how inept some of the decision making at this club is, when literally, even like with Mason Mount's issues, it took me all of 5 minutes on Google to look at the nature of Mason Mount's injuries, his injury history, and tell you that this guy was probably not likely to be fit anytime soon, and he's probably going to struggle with this the rest of his career. But now apparently we need to hire people to create an algorithm just to tell them what I just found in 5 minutes on Google. I'm not smart. Like, it's not like I'm well qualified or intelligent. I literally just Googled it. Like, it's all there is to it. I didn't even click on any links. Google has AI built into it now. All I got to do is Google it, and it'll just tell you stuff. Like, it's the easiest it's ever been. This is why I'm like, you don't need data analysts with AI and all this stuff. Like, there's not much you need to do anymore. But big up Lionhearts. I appreciate the confidence. Yeah. If I was running a club, I would immediately hire Danny B, and I would just I would set him up with a villa in South America and be like, dude, just do what you got to do. Go to matches. Here's a stipend, and here's a villa for you to chill out on. And we'll find you one on the beach someplace. And then you just give me some good names, and I trust you wholeheartedly. I don't even have to second question you, man. Just let me know who's good and who's not, and we'll get them into the club. That's all I would do. So speaking of strikers, though, so Rasmus Højlund spoke after the Leicester match. Obviously, he broke his duck, got on the score sheet after like 20 some odd games. But he gave us a little insight into what Ruben Amorim wants from his number 9. So Højlund says he wants me to stretch the pitch and get into the channels and keep the center backs occupied. That's what I'm trying to do. I've got a good amount of speed, and that's what I'm here for. Literally exactly what I've been saying for the entirety of this season. Use his speed. Let him run off the shoulders of defenders. Let him work those channels. Find him with balls whipped in around the fullbacks, balls whipped in through the channels. I don't know why we're playing him as a hold-up striker, whether that's the game plan, whether that's Højlund choosing to wrestle defenders because there's a lot of contact going on, or whether the long balls to him are just so poorly hit that there's backspin on them. They're not going far. They're getting higher than anticipated. So he has to stop and turn and try to hold those up. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's a combination of any three in a given moment, but the way we've been playing him all season up until the last couple weeks has been completely wrong. And you've seen what happens. You find him in those channels. He gets the ball. He got room to run and work, and then he gets a shot off even on his weaker foot. Like that's what Hoyland needs to do. So I don't know what the deal was, but in any case, with Hoyland and Cheeto as our only true strikers at this club right now, we definitely need another number 9, another experienced number 9. Now, I know I don't want the Cavani's, I don't want the Zlatans, the Ronaldos, the Igalos, the Veghorst. I don't want these 30-year-olds who, like, that was like 150 years combined with like those 4 or 5 strikers I just listed. No, someone like Jonathan David, 25 years old, experienced, proven on the domestic and in the European level. Like that's what I want. And Jonathan David, again, I'm like ringing that bell, but like the dude, everything about the way he plays suits the system. So I'll share my picks on all that in that other video. So again, don't miss out on that spending spree video. Then he says, I really hope Rasmus takes off from here. I mean, again, with him in recent weeks, I do think it was all a confidence thing. You could see he was taking unnecessary touches with the opportunities he had. He was rushing things. He was fluffing his lines. And those are just the signs of overthinking and the lack of confidence in yourself. And he's got to just get back to simple things. Again, what do I always say when things get hard in a match? Slow down, make a couple simple passes, make a couple simple plays. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Build a foundation that you can get some momentum from in the given match, and then start building on that. Then you can start trying to go for the intricate, but just get back into the rhythm of things mentally. Just get into the rhythm and then build on that. You gotta crawl before you can walk in some of those things. So, moving on. Danny says 100%. I don't even know what I landed on there. I'm just rambling, man. But yeah, so we do have a couple fun videos planned. Obviously tomorrow night, come back for Dylan and I. We're talking about managers. Later on this week, I'll be doing my spending spree. I want to try to see if Dylan's available to do another video where we look at our signings post Fergie, and each of us can kind of give our top 5 cents. A little bit slim pickings, but I do think there are some in there, probably some that people have forgotten about that made my list. Now Dylan can see my list because he's shared on the document, so I'm sure he's like, interesting, forgot about that guy. So we'll do that as well. Lionheart says, it seems like he took what Rooney said last week to heart. He didn't look at the goal once before he smashed it in. Yeah, I mean, he'll get there. Again, people forget how young he is sometimes. Simply because he's our main striker, they think that just automatically means you need to be scoring like 20 goals. Like, name me, aside from like Haaland and Prime and Mbappe, name me another 21-year-old striker whose sole responsibility it is to be the goal. Like Chesko maybe, but again, these guys are better than Hoyland. There's nothing wrong with saying that these guys are better than Hoyland, even at this age. Doesn't mean Hoyland can't get that good. It doesn't mean that, Hoyland's crap. Two things can be true at once. Haaland can be world class and Hoyland cannot be as good, but that doesn't mean he's bad. So, oh, did you guys see this shit about City that popped up? So it has nothing to do with United, but it's still just funny because apparently Sky Sports, the pantheon of journalistic objectivity and integrity, by the way, has now warned its presenters and pundits not to make snap judgments and, quote, stick to the facts when it comes to reporting on Manchester City's legal situation, the 115 charges, and the impending verdict thereof. I like when I get to use thereof. It makes me feel smart. I'm not. It just does make me feel that way. Or like hitherto. That's another one that you don't hear too much. Mostly because we're not written by Chaucer. But in any case, so apparently Sky has written to their staff to warn them against jumping to conclusions on air and on social media when the time comes. So they sent out an email and apparently asked that pundits and presenters allow themselves sufficient time to digest the outcome and to direct viewers to Sky Sports News for further information and reaction. Apparently, this move is aimed to ensure that the broadcasters are accurate, fair, and balanced in their reporting and avoid any controversy in what is an incredibly sensitive manner. What an absolute joke. Oh my God. Oh, geez. Should they bring some tissues too to hand out to City fan? Sanjay, big up, man. Good to see you again. Hope you are doing well. Just checking in from the office. No worries, my friend. I'm glad to have you stop by this morning. We were just wrapping up a little bit, but we thought we'd wrap up on a little bit of funny Manchester City news. So Sky's out here trying to tell everybody, everyone who works for them, basically, like, don't stick to the facts with City. So apparently that would be the first time that pundits were told to stick to the facts. No one wants to stick to the facts when they talk about United, right? Like Tim Howard, the Glazers have invested their money; they can do what they want. No, Tim, sorry, bud. You should know better. You're a former United player. You should know more than anybody. Stephen Warnock, why are you given a microphone and a camera? Like, what are you doing? You guys are out here trying to spend an hour on air, literally measuring the distance between a free kick and the wall. Like, when has that ever happened? But no, that's okay. When it's City, though, we'll just we will do that. It's freaking ridiculous. Lionhearts, yeah, Sanjay, don't let your boss catch you, man. Headphones, right? Put in the earbuds or watch it on closed caption if they do that. So I read that this morning and I about died laughing. I almost woke my wife up because I'm like, that is one of the most ridiculous, weak things I've ever heard in my life. It's it's so funny. Oh my. Asif just joined. We'll recap on the show. Anything interesting coming on the show this week? Well, as we wrap up today, yes. So tomorrow night, I will be joined by Dylan. We're chilling with Dylan tomorrow. We're going to be going over our post Ferguson managers at this club, and Dylan and I have each ranked them. So be prepared to listen to a lot of numbers and stats and whatnot. So we're going to be doing that. If you want to prepare for that, if you want to get your own thoughts in, remember we did that video over the summer called What Makes a Good Manager. So you can go watch that as well, because I went through a lot of different perspectives and criteria, because everyone's going to have different criteria, right? Like, does trophies matter? Does tactics matter? Does man management matter? Like, crisis management was something I covered in that video. How do you respond when you have so many injuries and whatnot? Those are all important things, but where each of those criteria in place in someone's hierarchy is going to look different. So that was a good video. Go watch that one to prepare a little bit, and kind of get maybe an understanding of some of where I'm coming from in that regard. But we're doing that one, and then Asif, I'm gonna be doing a 200 million pound spending spree transfer target show sometime this week as well. You know, we like to make it a little interesting during these international breaks because they are so boring, and I hate international friendlies. So yeah, Danny B pointed out yesterday. He put a comment in the chat asking just randomly, like, if I had 200 million to spend in the summer, what would I do? And so at the time I didn't have an answer, not because I was trying to be dismissive, but because the response is bigger than it deserves its own show, basically. So I took that to heart. So you guys can thank Danny B for that. And I have prepared a list. Although, as we discussed earlier today, my midfield target keeps changing because I've went back and forth between like 3 or 4 options, and every time a new match pops up or someone has a good match, I change my answer again. Like, there's so much involved, it's hard to do that. So at the end of the day, though, no matter who I pick, I did not reach my 200 million limit because I'm very good at what I do, and I'd actually save the club money. I'd actually make the club money this summer if we did what I have planned. So Danny says Ollie is my bet, most enjoyable football. Yeah, and see, that's one factor, right? Was the football exciting? Some people say it was, and that's the most important. Some people would rather play boring football than win trophies. So, but that's why it's never an easy conversation, and I love that. I love that it's not just this black or white. Well, this is it. But so I looked at Dylan's rankings. I looked at my own. We agree on a lot. We don't agree on some. So you guys will see that tomorrow night. So be sure to stop by. We'll be here around 6:30 my time. So Ashley says 200 million. Where did you come up with that? I didn't come up with it. I think the reports are that we will be spending a lot this summer, or at least Ruben Amorim will be heavily back. We do have a few players who are going to be leaving probably. So we'll talk about all that in that video as well. So, and then with PSR and stuff, as we get a handle on some of the wages, we're going to be losing some players for free, which will free up some wages and stuff like that. So I'm not sure where the 200 million came from, but that was just the number that Danny threw out. Honestly, though, even if you said you have 150 million to spend this summer, I still would have come in under budget because that's how good I am. So, Lionheart says pundits are going to be sitting here in silence. All they do is give us their opinions and start conspiracy theories. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think that, as again, getting back to the whole scouting thing, like cutting the scouting workforce, is because of the increase in technology, the internet, the availability. You have websites like Opta. Obviously, people go on YouTube a lot, SofaScore, FBref, all these things. But now everything that pundits do, YouTube channels are taking over, and they're doing it better. So pundits now, like Gabby Agbonlahor or Stephen Warnock or ESPN FC or anything, they have to just say the most ridiculous things. That's the only way they're going to get attention. It's the only way people are going to talk about what Sky Sports is saying, is when idiot sticks are on there saying just the most ridiculous things you could ever hear of. No one cares about Ref Watch until they make stupid decisions, and then everyone's talking about it, and that's what gets them attention. So you have, it's like you're in, like, and we know that that's what they're doing. Gabby Agbonlahor has literally said, like, yeah, he doesn't actually believe all the things he says when it comes to United. It's low hanging fruit basically, and it's going to get you clicks, and it's going to cause conversation. So that's just what happens. You've got guys like Jamie Carragher on here coming out, and I'm not trying to dismiss or belittle the Carabao Cup, but Jamie Carragher is literally out here saying the Carabao Cup is a bigger competition than the FA Cup going into this final on the weekend, because because Liverpool were out of the FA Cup but still in the Carabao Cup. But then the moment they lose, he's like, oh, well, the Premier League is better. Yeah. So, yeah, and these people are given cameras and microphones and airtime because they play football at some point. So it is what it is. Ashraf says, can you do one for free transfers? We do. I mean, some of the items on my list are free. Honestly, I mean, some of the transfer targets that we've discussed, even heading into January, a lot of those were free options. I mean, I've spoken about Jonathan David already today. I've spoken about quite a few. So I could do a whole video on free transfers if you want to. I did a budget one last year, too, on people who are entering their final year of their contract. As the more and more I look, though, at free transfers, free agents in the summer, Ashif, there's only a couple, 2 or 3, maybe 4 if you include like Angel Gomez, that I would be like, yeah, that's worth a punt. There's like Jonathan Tah, Angel Gomez, Jonathan David, Olivier Bishali. Those are probably the big 4 off the top of my head, that could come in and do a job at United right off the bat. Whether or not that's feasible, realistic, is another thing entirely. But yeah, those are the only 4, because I look at like Transfer Market and sort them by, who's out of contract, and there's not a whole lot else on there. I would have maybe included Joshua Kimmich on that, but I think he just signed a new contract, so that's not going to happen. But there are quite a few out there, Asif, and I think that the club would be foolish to not consider that as well. But then he says Rashford, Sancho, Malacia, Anthony money would allow us to spend around that. Yeah, just the Rashford money alone, because you got to remember too how PSR works. So if we sell Rashford for like 45 million this summer, let's say he goes someplace else, he doesn't. Let's 45 million. We get to count that 45 million all at once as incoming revenue. If we spend 45 million on like an Arden Yashari, we don't have to, that 45 million doesn't count. So when people say, oh, United have spent 60 some odd million on Rasmus, we didn't spend 60 some odd million on Rasmus Højlund. We spend the initial upfront cost of the spread out amortization of those fees. So we spent 45 million on Arden Yashari, we might spend 15 million upfront, and then like 10 million another year, 10 million another year, 10 million a year after that. And if we sell him in 2 years, we don't have to pay the remaining 20 million on that. So that's why you can actually make money on players if you sign them for a big fee, depending on when you sign them. So, and that's how that works out. I didn't do that with my video, because even with the full transfer fee, I still came in well under budget, because that's how good I am. But Danny says, the same 150, 60 would be enough for me. Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't need to spend a ton of money. What have I said? So Kieran Maguire said this a couple weeks ago. We need to spend smarter, not spend bigger. What do I continually say? We need to build, not buy. And building for a couple of years involves like free agents, some loans, some lesser known players like the Yasharis, like the Hayden Hackneys, like the Juan Jimenezes. And then you slowly build to the big guys like the Sheskos, the Edersons, those kind of players. I've even included a goalkeeper in my list, and I wasn't even planning on that. So that's how much money I had to spend. Asif says, yeah, sales will yield some cash, but we may not get as much. Sancho fails. He'll go. Honestly, Ashif, even if And this is why I'm kind of bummed if Chelsea do keep him after there's this whole report about them maybe canceling that. I would rather them send him back, pay the penalty, because then we'll still get to sell him for probably the same price that Chelsea would have paid, and we still get that 15 million from Chelsea in the penalty as well. So we would make more money on Sancho if Chelsea canceled that and paid the penalty, and we still end up selling to another club. We would still make more money, and this is why I'm now all in on Aston Villa to win the Champions League, because every round they progress to, we get more money from the Rashford loan. And the more they, not only that, but then if he gets involved, I want Rashford to get a hat trick every single game, because that just means we'll sell him for more in the summer. Like, this is how my mind works now. Like, I was all in for PSG, and then they beat Liverpool. Now I'm all in on Aston Villa to win this Champions League. Like, let Forest win the league. Like, let's do it all, man. We'll probably I think we still have a big sell-on fee for Anthony Elanga too, so just do it, man. Lionheart says PSV had the option. Yeah, I do believe they had the option to buy Malacia. So again, we didn't spend that much on Malacia. It was like 12, 15 million. Same with Dallo. I think we spent like 16, 18 million on Dallo. Like, we'll make money on Dallo if we sell Dallo. So Lionheart says nice. But I don't remember exactly what we spent on Malacia. I want to say it was like 12, 15 million off the top of my head, but he's like 26 now, Malacia. It's not like he's young. He's literally like the same age as Dallo. I think Dallo just turned 26, I think, recently. I might know. I might not. Some of this stuff is it's amazing to me, the kind of random stuff I remember about football related stuff, but I will honestly, the only reason I know anything these days about geography or countries in general is from football. I can recognize flags now because of just the little icons they put next to players, or like international football. It's the only reason I know what like a Slovenian flag looks like, or a Macedonian flag. Like, Macedonian flag, big red thing with a yellow sunshine on it. Like, that's how I know what that is now. So Leonard says, don't matter, Danny. Get him in the fudge out of here. Ashley says, with not much to play for in the Premier League, is it better for Ruben to give more game time to players that we want to sell, like Mason or Shaw, or to new academy players that might also be sold? I mean, there's still an outside chance we could break into the top half of the table. We're not that far off of it. If we put together a good string of results, it's if Mason Mount and Luke Shaw can stay fit, they can help us. I can't plan on them staying fit at this point. It just is what it is. I would like to see some more academy players again. Obviously, Harry Amos made his debut on his birthday at the weekend, came on and did very well. Aiden Heaven's been playing more recently. Of course, we're still sweating on his fitness, so we'll see how it goes. Cheeto's getting minutes. Cheeto is going to score a goal soon. I guarantee you, within the first couple matches of coming back, if Cheeto gets minutes, Cheeto's getting a goal. He's looking more and more likely. His movements get a little more. He's getting a little more involved. You can tell he's got that Ethan Wheatley, I'm going to chase down and press the defenders kind of mentality right now, because he's hungry. Cheeto's getting a goal or goal or two before the end of the season. You guys can clip this up if you want, but he's getting some. Lionheart says, we're not selling Mason Mount. Yeah, we're not selling Mason Mount. I just don't. He's just a non-entity. I don't count him. Same with Luke Shaw. I don't count Mason Mount anymore. I just can't. So no one's buying him. No one is buying him. I don't think anyone is as stupid as we are because of his injury record. He might, on the outside chance, get like 10 million from like a West Ham or something like that. But that's literally about it. But I just don't think it's going to have to be a team that he's not going to have to do a lot of running in, unfortunately. But Ashley says, would you choose more game time for Casemiro or Kone? Both. Casemiro was playing a lot with Ugarte injured, and he was rested a little bit. Last game he came on late on. Didn't looks just fine. I think Casemiro is one of those players who's got to play more to not get rusty. Kone, I'd like to see Kone get in at Bragimov, Morehouse, Fredrickson. Obviously was on the bench recently. Scanlon, Montato, Kamason. There's a ton. I'd love to see a lot of these guys get in and see what's going on there, but it's a lot. I think people, like, when I was doing this sit down for my spending spree and looking at the squad we have, like, we actually have a pretty bloated squad right now. It was even with 9 subs, I'm like, geez, some of these guys, like, I'm trying to find room with my signings for guys like Collier and Mainu. I was almost to a point where I've got to choose between Maguire or Aiden Heaven on the bench, because I just don't have any I don't have any room now. And so that's a problem. That's a big problem. There are going to be so many players who are just never going to see the match day squad if we buy too many players. And I didn't even put guys like Mount or Shaw in my bench. We have a big squad. I think, and we don't know it because there's so many injuries and stuff. But we have a big squad. And then there's players like Casemiro who probably should leave, but we probably won't be able to get rid of them. So it's unfortunate. Lionheart says I would give Cass more time. He needs to play. I just think when Cass is rested, he gets rusty, and I think that we've seen in recent weeks, like he's doesn't look like he was getting like tired or anything. He's like a diesel engine. It takes like too much rest in between. It's going to take a bit of time for him to get back up to speed. But once he's up there, he can play for a minute. So that being said, though, nearly 400K a week for a 32, 33-year-old is just a little bit ridiculous. So it is what it is. That's going to do it for me, you guys. Obviously some of the big news, talking ticket prices, talking striker targets. Be sure to come back tomorrow evening, my time, 6:30 my time. You guys will see the thumbnail pop up. Hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on that as well. And if you guys want to get more involved in those kind of videos, like the post-Fergie manager, the 200 million spending spree, check out the memberships to learn more about how you can have more of a say, or how you could even join in virtually to get involved in those videos. All that's detailed in the memberships. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Be sure to come back throughout this international break to get involved in some of these fun conversations. I can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts on managers tomorrow. It's always fun. Like when we did the all-time starting 11 and stuff, it's fun going back a little bit and looking at some of this stuff that, obviously was 10 years ago for like someone like David Moyes or Louis van Gaal. But so some of it's not happy, but it's still fun to go back and visit. So big up everybody for getting involved today. Thanks for stopping by. Good to hear some opinions. And I will see you guys tomorrow evening for the fun video. We're going to be chilling with Dylan. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And I will see you guys on the next one. Later.